You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith Johnson.
From the AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California, this is AfterBuzz TV Spartacus After Show. Tonight's hosts are Spicy Mari, Sean Overman. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's episode, you can do so by dialing 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, picking up where the show leaves off and the buzz continues, it's AfterBuzz TV Spartacus edition.
Woo!
You know, we're always excited.
Yes! Welcome back to the arena, everybody.
Yes, we are prepared to fight like gladiators in here.
Oh my gosh. So, yes, truly, we are buzzing about this episode. Am I right?
This is everything that I wanted and more. You guys are gathered here today with us for Spartacus. This is season 2, even though we consider it season 3. Last season was the prequel. So season 2, episode 3, The Greater Good. And you are listening to Sean Underman over here. Overman. That's a little joke I like to make. You're listening to Sean Overman and Spicy Mari in the building, guys.
Spicy Mari.
And you guys got to start following Sean's blog because he gives over and under tips, right? Like you give like little nuances.
Yeah, exactly. On movies, that's my rating. It's kind of like thumbs up, thumbs down, over the top, under the rug. Like those things that you shouldn't be watching, they're under the rug, and then over the top stuff, that's what you should watch.
But I love that because you bring all of that to Spartacus in the arena. And so you guys have to watch this episode if you haven't seen it yet. It is by far the best episode thus far.
Yes, the best episode of the season, and I'm really happy that we stuck with it, and we're going to keep sticking with it.
I was kind of concerned. I don't know about you. You were still like rooting for it. I was like, I don't know if this season's going to bring the fire like before. But this episode convinced me. It's back. Spartacus is back with vengeance.
Yes, and there we go. So glad. With a vengeance. You were exactly right. Just like the season's called. Okay, so
let's just dig right into it. First, we see Oenomaus and his relationship with Ashur. They brought Ashur back into the scene, and he is a jerk just like always.
Yes, he is. And I've said this before. I love to hate him, and you completely hate him.
I hate his guts. I want him to die.
Even with those pearly whites, right?
That he flashes every single time he does something evil, he is smiling. What is that about?
He's got that serpent smile. That's what he's got.
Right, and they refer to him as a serpent in this episode.
Exactly, Oenomaus does.
Right.
So, he's got Doctore, formerly Doctore, now Oenomaus, chained up there, and the tables have turned. He was whipping him now.
Right, and that was one of the hardest scenes for me to see was the abuse that Ashur was giving Oenomaus. Like he's tied up, he can't do anything to fight back, and we see Ashur he's whipping him, he's punching him, and then in return, the only thing that Oenomaus can do is spit in Ashur's face.
Yes, he spits blood, and of course, Ashur retorts with the C word, which he loves to use in this episode. Quite terrible.
I could not believe that Oenomaus was taking the abuse and the punishment that he was and not giving up any information. I thought that was very, very admirable of him. And of course, out of all the gladiators, he's the strongest because he is the Doctore.
Yes, that's right. And speaking of punishment, Ashur, he punished himself by cutting the Gladiatus mark off of his forearm.
Oh, that was crazy.
Disgusting.
But he had to show his loyalty. Glaber made him show his loyalty, and he did it.
He did, and it made me cringe. And Ashur just does everything to please everybody to try to get himself elevated, to get himself more power.
Your will, his hands.
Yes, exactly. Very good. And that's the second time that they have said that.
Right, we keep hearing that.
Yeah,
that's very repetitive.
In the last 2 episodes. And of course, Doctore also said it when he was Doctore with Gladiatus. So anyway, that's some crazy stuff. And then
that was going on right there. I could not believe that. But you know what? That mark was very symbolic. We keep seeing that mark. The B is which for Gladiatus, he brands all of his slaves. So that B, that's a automatic, just indicative of who you belong to and whether you're free or not. And that always gives it away because every time they try to cover up that they're not slaves, the B reveals themselves.
That's right. And then everybody knows that these are the rebels who killed the House of Gladiatus, slayed all all those other Roman noble people and are out running amok in the countryside.
There's a bounty on every single one of their heads.
Yes, that's right.
I would have sliced my bee off too, though. I'm sorry.
Oh,
if I was the slaves actually should take that bee off. They should follow in Ashur's footsteps.
Yeah, that's right. So it's a good thing that Ashur did do it, unless, of course, the other slaves know him like the main characters do by face, then they know that he was a slave like them. So anyway, we got crazy stuff going on with him revealing to Doctore Oenomaus that and one of my favorite quotes is in there. We'll talk about that later on. But he reveals that he knew of Gannicus and Oenomaus' wife's relationship.
Now, this was an incredible scene, though, because what he was doing was kind of at the suggestion of Lucretia was to kind of taunt him with information because Oenomaus was not giving anything up. But Ashur goes in there and he starts using his sore spot. And from what it seems like in Spartacus, the women in this TV show are always kind of like the Achilles for every man. They're always used against the men. And Ashur knew exactly, okay, I'm going to have to use, his wife as his weak point.
Exactly right. And he referred to him, as a serpent. And I'm sorry, I have
use
to jump
quote.
into
You
the
got to
quote.
do it. Go ahead. We're jumping ahead. Go ahead. Go
Okay.
ahead. Say the quote because it was a really good quote.
All right. So what does a serpent know of love? That its bite is often fatal. Oh, ouch.
When he hit us with that, like Ashur just doesn't care. Ashur just willingly admits, you know what, I am the devil, and I'm just gonna accept that title. Like he knows it. He automatically knows it, but he owns it and he lives up to it. He doesn't care about anybody, and that's why Lucretia needs to watch her back too, because she keeps letting him in. But can we talk about what was revealed with him and Lucretia?
Okay. All right, what was revealed?
Well, just
with,
the fact that
Lucretia?
he is the reason that she has this loyalty towards him and that he has towards her, because it showed us that Ashur is actually the reason that she still lives.
That's right, and that was pretty crazy because I remember, when we did our AfterBuzz show for episode 1, I said to myself, like, how did she sew that up?
Exactly.
How we posed that question, and it now is revealed that Ashur was there. Obviously he hid under that pile of bodies.
Which is very smart and cowardly.
Yeah, exactly.
Intelligent but cowardly.
Yeah, and then once everybody got out, then he found her clinging to life and he helped her up. He said, it wasn't Jupiter that saved you, it was me.
Right, exactly. And Lucretia wasn't as prevalent in this episode as Ashur was. Ashur was in every single scene almost, like kind of doing his Ashur thing, I want to call it, being just evil and kind of turning against people. Like
slippery serpent that he is.
Yeah.
And he was in
what's going on?
He contacted almost every one of the main characters.
Yeah, he did.
Time.
Yeah, he did.
And that's a far cry from him being absent completely in episode 1.
Right. Is he? Do you think he's getting power now?
I think
because
he's
nobody
still
respects him.
Yeah, nobody respects him. You're right. I think that he's trying to gain power still, and he's trying to please those above him so he can get more power. But everybody keeps crapping on him. That's what it feels like.
Nobody respects him. Nobody respects him. Not Lucretia, not Glaber. Doesn't matter. Oenomaus is tied up, and he still has no respect for him. When he has the whip in his hand, and he's still not giving him any information.
Yeah, after he lashed him all night with the whip.
Yeah, but what was sad was that because he used that information against Oenomaus, without him intentionally trying to do it, he gave away vital information that led Ashur to where Crixus and Spartacus were heading.
Right, exactly. So, valuable information. It didn't seem like it to Clobber at the time, but then again, everybody craps on Ashur's information, even though it's very good stuff.
Right.
Because he extracts it from people. So anyway, do you want to move on to the next relationship?
Yes, can we move on to the next one?
Okay, the one, do you have one that you want to talk about?
I wanted to talk because this was kind of spicy. What we keep seeing is a recurring pattern with Mira and Spartacus. She keeps needing validation every single episode that he cares for her and loves her, which is not uncommon for women. We always want, validation from our man. Like, oh, do you think I'm pretty today?
Of
do you
course,
love me?
yeah.
But every single episode, she has to remind him, I am not your wife, and I will be stronger than majority of women. And she even compares herself to Naevia in this. She's like, I will be stronger than Naevia and not be captured. I will make sure that I fight for you. Like, she is constantly trying to prove her love to him.
Yeah, she will not go to a slow death. She will not be led to death.
Right.
Yes.
And I'm just kind of like, okay, there's a point from being hungry for love and being thirsty. I think that she's borderline, but I like that this episode we got to see her prove to him her worth. I feel like Spartacus hasn't found her value yet. That
Right.
she's just another woman.
Yeah, and she demonstrated that really well in. She gave him a talking to, and then they made
And
up.
then
They had some
the
makeup
spicy scene,
sex.
the passionate love.
And that was very nice. And then later on, when they go to the mines, that's when she really shows what I can do something. So she goes off. She like volunteers practically.
Right.
At Spartacus's dismay, and he didn't want her
And
to
can
go.
we talk about them going to the mines? Was that not genius that they had decided that they were going to dress back up as slaves, go into that carriage as if they were a delivery of slaves, and then Naevia offers her, not Naevia, but Mira offers her body to the guard. Like, that was just genius. And I knew that she was going to do that to test Spartacus's love for her.
Perfect plan. Testing the love, and at the same time,
She kills two birds with one stone.
extracting the information they needed from the head of the mines, the head guard, whatever he is.
Yep.
Okay.
And I was nervous too that she was not going to be able to accomplish that mission, because I knew at some point when she was holding the knife to his that he was going to kind of, either jolt her, or he was like 10 times her size.
Yeah, of course. And how is she going to know on the map where it is unless she looks? And when she does that, boom, there's his chance to go ahead
But
and
I
take
was
control.
nervous that she was going to have to give herself to him. I was nervous that she was going to have to sleep with the guard. But instead, she winds up opening up a can of whoop ass.
Yes, and thankfully it didn't come to having to sleep with the guard, because that guy was grotesque.
Right. But what did this thing show us? It showed us that she's strong. It showed us that she's loyal, that she really will keep her word and fight till the bittersweet end in order to find Naevia for Crixus, which also shows her love for Spartacus.
Yes, very good. And actually, I was watching some of the older episodes from season 1, and there's an allusion to something. Well, I would like to allude to something that keeps happening, like with this, what you're talking
Right.
about. So I think it was in the episode right after Spartacus's wife dies, Sora. After she dies, he actually dreams about her, and he's remembering a time when he's laying there with her. Shortly after their whole village is burnt down and it's been destroyed by whatever army sacked their village. So she says to him that you will never love another woman. And you know how she was all into the gods and fortune and fate? And she said
did
that.
say that.
Yeah.
That was a great memory to pull from.
Yeah. So therefore, will Mira ever be his true love? Is he making it a self-fulfilling prophecy? What do you think?
I think that she cursed him and the gods are answering her prayers. Because unfortunately, I really think that we're going to see that he does love Mira, but that he owes his heart to Sora. I mean, you can't, it would almost be like a transference of emotion. And I think that's what he's been doing with his relationships on the show, is kind of just, allowing himself physically and emotionally to have feelings for them, but it not being true passion, deep love. I don't think that he would go to the bittersweet end of what Crixus has done and what he did in season 1, where he's searching for his wife, trying to fight for her honor. I don't think he would do that for Mira. Not quite yet. They're still kind of new. It's like, new love.
Yeah, I think you're right. But speaking of Crixus, do you want to go to his?
Yes, let's get to it.
Okay, let's get to him and Naevia's relationship, or whatever else is going on. Go ahead.
I feel like that has been like the entire arc of the entire show this season. Don't you think?
It feels like it so far.
It feels like they have given so much attention and made Crixus the main storyline with his relationship with Naevia. We see that he is controlling his gladiator army and making sure that they all assist him in trying to find her. And there becomes, kind of like not a disagreement, but like a separation between
Clashing.
him, yeah,
They're clashing a little bit.
and the followers of Spartacus.
Yes, and then when they find out that, right in the beginning of the episode, they sack that one, that trade route, and they take out those slaves. That one guy, whatever the slaver, he says to Agron something, we don't know what it is yet,
Right.
but he says something, he gives up some intelligence, and Agron and Tiberius, they say that Naevia is dead.
Right, and that was my AfterBuzz prediction came true, because I was predicting during that episode. I was like, she's not dead. I just know it.
Yeah.
And this is the first time, you even pointed out, this is the first time we've ever seen Crixus be so vulnerable and go mad. Like, he
Yes.
lost his mind.
Yeah, he was really hurt, and this is the first time we've seen him this emotional since when he first lost her in season 1. But now it was even worse, because he was out there trying to
Right.
get her, and with the hope of her still being alive, and he just broke down in front of all the men in in front of the Gauls, in front of the other rebels, and he was just a broken man.
I think I was going to cry a few times on this episode. And you got a little watery-eyed.
A little bit, I guess. I guess you caught me.
I'm just playing. Sean is pretty tough, guys. But in the middle of the scene when we see him, like, it was one of those, like, why?
Yeah.
Like one of those, dramatic moments. And people are having, all his gladiator homies are having to hold him down because he's losing it. But that was, like, a very touching scene for me. But when we find out that she really was alive.
Yeah, that Agron withheld information. And then the stuff really hits the fan right there.
I know what you're going to say.
Yep. Oh, I've been living in the Spartacus world. Everybody's cursing here and there.
I know.
With their poetic cursing. Good stuff.
But what did we see? We saw that Tiberius, who had teamed up with Agron to keep this secret, they were doing that for their own selfishness because they didn't want to try to find Naevia.
Yeah, and I think it's because Tiberius, he's going along with Agron, views him as like this role model. We're gonna find out.
Is that what it was? He was looking up to him?
He was looking up to him, but we're gonna find out something else about that in a little bit when we talk about Agron. But he's just going along with him because he views it as the greater good. Agron convinced him, and it's the name of this episode, The Greater Good.
The Greater Good.
And the greater good in Agron's perspective was to sacrifice Naevia, not to waste time going after her, so that everybody else, including Crixus and his Gauls, which are half of the forces, can go ahead and focus on destroying the Romans and gathering the other slaves and making a bigger rebellion.
But what I thought was interesting, and which I thought was a crucial moment, was when Spartacus shows his allegiance towards Crixus and his cause. When we find out that the truth is that, well, Tiberius admits this. And why does Tiberius admit this? What does Crixus do that makes Tiberius give the information?
Well, he started helping him, and he actually felt really guilty when Crixus started helping him. And I forget, what was it that Crixus said exactly? Do you remember?
Yes, I actually wrote it down. Crixus came to Tiberius and said, you know what? I don't trust Syrians. Syrians? Am I saying it? So I don't trust Syrians.
Yes.
And the reason that I don't trust them is because of a previous relationship that I had with the Syrian, referring to Ashur.
That's right.
And so he says, but Naevia, well, he refers to her as his woman, wouldn't hold that against you, so therefore I'm not going to either. Like, he was just being amazing this entire episode.
Very
Crixus
powerful.
was being bigger than his usual self and just more humble and kind. And in that moment, he goes to shake Tiberius' hand.
Yes.
That's what made him give up the information.
Yes, he did, and he felt so guilty. He was feeling it those first, several minutes of the episode, and then boom, he gave it up. And of course, Crixus goes wild, and he goes after Agron.
Right, and he deserved every single bit of it. But what kills me is when he has the when Spartacus stood up to him and hits him in the face, hits Agron in the face, and he says, "Those words wouldn't have come from your lips if it was about your brother."
That's right.
Like, that's it. Sorry, I gave up another great quote.
Okay, that was one of your quotes.
That was one of my. Like, that's so true. You're selfish until it has to deal with you.
That's right. When it becomes personal, when it's your family or your loved one, then of course.
So we see them go to the mines fighting for Crixus and Naevia's relationship. And what happens in the mines?
Oh,
yay! Your AfterBuzz prediction. Because we were saying that we were going to find Naevia.
Yeah,
the entire time we were like, we're going to find Naevia, we're going to find her. And this episode, we found her.
We found her, and she's got like PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome, because she's been there. She's, like you said earlier, she's probably malnourished.
Exactly.
And she was just scared. She's probably been manhandled by so many other disgusting guards, and like just maybe other slaves who wanted to abuse her sexually or physically, whatever. And finally, she's reunited with her love, Crixus.
That was a touching moment.
Yes.
But in that moment, as soon as we get happy, because honestly, guys, I really did in the moment when Naevia and Crixus were reunited, I teared up. I did. Because I want him to, I love the relationship, and I always say I love love. And the fact that he found her made it all worth it. But of course, Ashur.
He ruins the moment.
If I can get my hands on him. I think
with that serpent smile of his.
I think that if I saw him really in real life, like in the streets, I may have a problem with him. Like there may be beef between me and him. And I know that Ashur is just a character, but it's one of those situations where I think I'd be one of those people that go up to him and actually say, look, why did you do this? And he would be like, wait, that was just, I'm acting. Yeah, it'd be one of those situations.
You know what? Then he did his job.
He did his job. Yes, exactly. But I'm just happy that they were able to be reunited and she's safe and she's out of harm's way. But what does he do? What does Crixus do for Naevia? For true love?
He went ahead and he gave her over to Spartacus, and he sacrificed himself to stay and fight the Romans and Ashur to let her be free.
It's a repetitive pattern, though.
Yes.
I feel like you free one, then one gets captured. You free another, then another gets captured. It's a cycle. But of course, they have to do this in order for us to keep the show going. But I'm like, oh, Spartacus, why couldn't you have fought with him so that he didn't get captured?
Well, of course, he needed Spartacus to go ahead because Spartacus is the leader. You know, Crixus and him, they're both pretty equal, but Spartacus is just a little bit above Crixus in leading the entire rebellion.
But, like, wouldn't he have not been captured, though, if Spartacus closed the cage and told them to run? Or you think that, like, Naevia wouldn't have left if he closed the cage on her?
I think there just would have been so many Romans coming in. Like, you don't know how many there were behind Ashur and, like how big it was, how big the force was. I really didn't have any idea, but that's probably what he was thinking. And he wanted to respect Crixus's wishes because he said, take her and get out of here. He didn't say, take her and stay and fight. He said, get out of here.
That's true.
So do you want to analyze, let's see, while we're still talking about the rebels, do you want to talk about Agron and his, all right, we already talked about Crixus and him and how he doesn't like the Gauls. Obviously, he always says effing Gauls all the time.
Right.
So here we go with Agron a little bit, and then what's up with him and Tiberius?
Well, that was something that we always call her the blonde slave. Do we get her name yet?
Oh, no. Tiberius is he's the Syrian slave.
Right, but the blonde slave, the girl.
Yes. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Her comment, we don't know her name. What's her name?
I got her name as Siobhan.
We hope that it's Siobhan.
Chevron, something like that.
Okay, so we're taking a guess because they don't really talk too much about her. We don't have too much information and background. She just kind of pops up.
Yeah, they've said her name one time that I
so we call her the blonde slave.
The blonde slave.
But she was under the influence that there was something going on with Agron and Tiberius.
Yes, and at first I thought it was like he viewed him as a bigger brother and they were joking around, and they have this mutual respect for each other now. And when they both liberated that trade cart for the slaves in the beginning, he said something that was like some kind of gay joke. He was like, "Oh, offering your back to the gods," something like that. And then here we find out later on that Tiberius favors Agron and not in a brotherly way.
Wait, and then the blonde slave was saying, I'm jealous that Agron favors you or that he has affection towards you. And Tiberius didn't deny it. He didn't say, no, I'm not in love with him or anything like that. He kind of just kept his mouth shut.
That's right.
But we see them part ways, though, when Tiberius reveals the information about Naevia being alive. Like, they're not friends anymore. One of them's probably going to kill the other as soon as they find each other.
That's right. Yes, very good point. So Agron, he goes off to Vesuvius, and then Tiberius goes off with the slaves to go to the mines to pretend to be slaves,
right?
And go ahead and fool their way in to save Naevia. So,
and they had, if Glaber didn't have such an ego and have animosity, he would not have probably took the chance to send the Romans to go to the mines. But he decided this one time to listen to Ashur.
That's right, and perfect segue right there. So another relationship pops up with Glaber versus Varinius.
Yes.
And we finally found the name.
This is kind of a new character to us. We've seen him one time, but who really is he?
That's right. So, and now we've talked about him before. We didn't know his name, and I think his name's Varinius. What did you think his name was?
I thought that it was like Taurinius or something. I didn't quite hear it right.
Or Levidius.
I guessed a couple different names, but I think that you're right about Varinius.
Yes, and we don't have the subtitles on. No, we're not reading the script. So anyway, we're just guessing it's Varinius,
right? I
think, with a V. So anyway, Glaber and Varinius, he hates him. Varinius favors Illithyia. Glaber says, I can't believe you let him put your hands on you, stuff like that. So he sent his men off so that he could just piss off Varinius in the arena.
But I don't want to do an AfterBuzz prediction, but I can't help it. I think that Illithyia does have feelings for Varinius. I think something's going to happen because her relationship with Glaber is slowly dwindling. He's not giving her affection. He's not giving her love, and she's pregnant. And you know, when women are pregnant, I heard that's when they're at their horniest. So
their hormones are raging.
Their hormones are raging. She wants some good loving. You know, she's worried that he probably doesn't think she's sexy anymore, and he's in a position of power. You know, she's hot and heavy, and her own man isn't giving her affection, and that's not spicy.
Yeah, that's
because
right.
that's grounds for cheating.
Yeah, and she does mention that after so many years, the passion in her life with Glaber has eroded, and it is not this fire that it once was.
Right. After several years, or lust or something like depletes or something. She said something like about the lust with it. She had tried to give Scipia kind of like a lesson on love.
Yeah, something like that. And man, that was really well demonstrated when they were trying to make love and she unveiled her beautiful breasts once again. And they were about to do it, and we finally get to see her and Glaber for the first time. Well, they actually did a little bit in one of the first I think it was the first episode of the first season, but we haven't seen Glaber and her together since then.
We haven't seen Glaber nude yet. This is the first time we got to see Glaber nude.
Yes, I think this is the first time we saw his booty.
That was pointed out. We were like, wait, oh, okay, finally we get to see him naked, because everybody has to strip down on this show, and this is the first time that he's been nude to us. So, yep, he's in there. He's a part of the team.
There we go. And then he says, "Mine strays from task." Oh, ouch.
What kind of excuse is that? He's using work as an excuse.
No, he said task at hand, as in him making love to his wife is a task. Ouch.
But he was saying because there's other things on his mind.
Yes, exactly.
Like talking about having to find Spartacus.
Yeah, I know. But how bad would you feel if your husband or boyfriend said?
And that's why she responded, "Task? This is like work for you?"
Ouch. Yes.
Yeah, that was
really painful.
That was kind of an insult.
I would not say that to Illithyia if I was in his place.
Because she is deceitful, she is evil, she is Ashur in a woman's body.
Yeah, you could say that. That would be a good way to describe her. So we had Glaber and Varinius. We kind of touched on Glaber and Illithyia a little bit. Do you want to go to... Okay, we already talked about Agron and Tiberius. Crixus and Tiberius. Okay, we touched on them a little bit.
I think we've covered the relationships part. But let's go into how they got, since we're on like amazing bodies and booties and workouts. Can we go into like how they got these gladiator fit bodies? Because I know a lot of people want to know, because I'm about to start working out, what can we do to get into gladiator shape? Every day you give us kind of like a little tip on, the gladiator workout plan.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm going to give out 1 or 2 exercises right now for those of you who want to get into gladiator shape. You want to look like the people on Spartacus. So one of these workouts that I actually did, and this was featured on... Yes, thank you. I did this yesterday, and this was featured on the Spartacus Vengeance Men's Health. So if you type in, go to Google, type in Spartacus Vengeance Men's Health Workout, something like that, you will discover this like 2.5 minute video showing the cast of Spartacus working out. It features Mira, Liam McIntyre, and the actor that plays Agron, all, among the other ones, the Gauls. They're all working out together as a team. This is the exercise that I took from it, and I'm going to share with you guys tonight. So this involves this huge, thick rope. It's probably about this big. What is this? For people who are listening, I would say about the thickness of a softball, maybe.
Yeah, that's pretty big.
That's how thick this rope is, and it's pretty long. It goes around, so you can. It goes lengthwise, maybe I want to say maybe like 18 feet. It's pretty long.
Oh, wow.
18 feet divided in half. So anyway, you grab these ropes with 2 hands, and you go ahead and stand as steady as you can, and maybe like squat a little bit. And you throw it up in the air as high as you can.
Oh, wow.
And then you throw it down. And then you can do variations on it too. You can go ahead and switch. You can switch arms alternating.
I can only imagine how sore your arms are.
So it looks like you're doing waves pretty much. And I feel like I'm Dr. Octopus when I'm out there, because I got like these extensions on my arms and I got really long tentacles.
Are you sore now from having done that?
I wish I could have done it a little bit more. I'm not too sore, but I do feel it. However, at times, I do feel like I'm even sore 2 days after as opposed to just the day after.
What's crazy is that I love that this show takes responsibility for the fighting scenes and the characters, their physical bodies. Because majority of the time when you see shows that are on, networks, we know that they work out. They're actors. They have to keep in great shape. But never is it like the show is making you guys work out as a team and, follow a structured plan. Like we see all of the gladiators working out together.
That's right. They do all these team building, circuit training exercises. They fight and they spar with each other just
Right.
like they did when they were in the Ludus on the show. They still do all that stuff.
They're not at 24-hour fitness like on the bicycle.
Oh no, I'm pretty sure.
They're taking this job seriously.
I bet you over there where they film, in Auckland, New Zealand, they go ahead and they just have their own training room there. From the video that I saw on Men's Health, it looked huge. It looked like bigger than the size of a house kind of training
wow.
area. It was pretty big. So another exercise that I haven't done yet, but I really want to do this, it's called a T push-up.
Oh.
Have you heard of that?
Yeah, I have.
Okay, so if you're familiar with it, would you like to share?
No, go ahead. I mean, you explained it to me. That's why I'd heard of it.
Okay. Oh, really? I thought you said you did it yourself
No, you explained
earlier.
it to me. Well, you said that it's a push-up with the weights, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you have 2 weights in your hand, and you do a push-up, but then you lift your right arm up so that it's perpendicular to your body?
I would say... I think that's a decent way to describe it, yeah.
I'm probably not as good as the physical descriptions as you are, Sean, but that's in my mind like how I envision it. Like I'm lifting my arm up and then you switch arms and then you lift the next one up, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
So-
yeah, I've done that workout in boot camp before.
Okay, good. So that's what they do. They do like a Gladiator boot camp.
But I didn't
So-
know the name of it. I didn't know it was called the T push-up.
I think it's called the T push-up. That's what I've heard it referred to as. And this one is actually, I don't know if this is what they do in the Gladiator bootcamp for the Spartacus cast, but I've heard this is a Spartacus-inspired type of workout that I've heard. Other people,
they're
on the net.
inspiring workouts.
Yes, exactly. And this one guy said it's a T push-up, and the way I look at it as, it's like he turns sideways and his body looks like a T slanted on the ground. That's kind of like what he's doing, okay, or what anybody's doing. So it's pretty interesting workout. You guys can look it up maybe. Maybe I'll demonstrate it later on if we have time.
I would love to see that. If we have time, you have to show exactly what it is, because I don't know if my description was that good, but it all played out well in my mind, though. I've done it before.
And the diet. Okay, so not too much, very sparse details on the diet. I don't think they want to give away too much for the show's
I bet you they're not doing
diet.
carbs.
I don't know.
In order to get those bodies, that means probably no sugar, no bread. Maybe like a little bit, maybe like brown rice. But I seriously doubt that they're over there eating like bonbons and churros. So
I doubt that as well. But what I feel that what stood out to me the most is every interview that Liam McIntyre goes on, that they say, what kind of diet did you have? Or he mentions it. He says, I pretty much ate all the chickens in New Zealand. So he's just out there eating a bunch of chickens.
Well, when I'm on my diet, which I always am on a different diet every week, trying one, I always do chicken. That always seems to be like the main source of protein for me, in addition to like protein shakes. So I'm sure they're doing like something similar to that, not like probably heavy fatty meats, but we'll actually research that and try to see if there's anything else out there that we can find on that.
Yes, exactly. So what's next on the agenda? Did you have anything?
Okay, so quotes. Do you want to go to Spartacus facts and quotes?
Yes.
Because you had some good information as far as like the history is concerned on Spartacus.
That's right. Okay, let's go to quotes. Let's do something a little fun now. Okay, so quotes,
Okay.
things that we liked. What was your favorite quote? Do you have a particular favorite quote or
Okay,
a
so
bunch of quotes?
my favorite was with Illithyia. Although I can't stand her, I did appreciate when she said, "Less of all things fades with the passing of the years." And we had mentioned that earlier because I feel like a lot of times relationships can be so-called love at first sight, but really that is lust. That's superficial. And majority of the time, that's not what matters most or what's going to sustain. So although I hate Illithia's character.
You feel bad.
Yeah, I know. She said something amazing today because that is true. And I know that she is going to use that as her excuse to be deceitful towards her husband. But at the same time, she had a great point. When somebody doesn't want you, and it's not like she hasn't slept or cheated on her husband before. So
On accident, though.
Not on accident. She wanted to sleep with somebody
Oh, yeah,
else.
that's
remember?
right. That is right.
Yeah,
Yes.
she was totally, yeah. And I'm
You
not
got
saying that she's, easy. I'm just saying she has needs, and if they're not fulfilled, she will do what she has to do to fulfill them. But I thought that was a great quote, though, because as long as you have true love, the relationship can always sustain itself. But lust, that dies.
That's true.
So that was one of my favorites. What do you have?
Well, the one that I got a few that were pretty good. Two, we already discussed one of them. What does a serpent know of love?
Yes,
which
that
Oenomaus
was great.
said, and what Ashur retorted was very clever, that its bite is often fatal. Very good.
Yes.
And I got a good one. This one was good and spoken from Spartacus's mouth. If a single life holds no value, then none are of worth.
That was good. I love that one too.
That was pretty powerful and something good to spur his rebellion back into action to get people behind him and Crixus after that little spat him and Agron had. And let's see. Oh, I had another one. This one was a little bit before the whole serpent thing. Place ear to marble and hear the whispers of the past. And that's when Ashur was referring to the secrets that the House of Batiatus holds.
Yes, and I knew when they had said that means like something vindictive was about to happen.
A corpse was about to be dug out of the closet.
Can I tell you what I thought was the meanest quote of the episode?
Go ahead.
That it was, I mean, it's extremely spicy because it let us know what Illithia's father really felt about Glaber, because he's always being taunted and he's lost respect this season, which he's about to earn back because of him capturing Crixus. But everybody on the show looks for validation from somebody else. And Glaber turned to Illithia's father and he asked, "Do I not stand his equal?" And he was referring to, what's the gentleman's name that we keep fighting about?
Varinius.
Yeah, Varinius. And do you know what his response was? The father's response? He said, "I think of you as an incompetent child who can't wipe the shit off of his own ass."
Aye.
Like, who says that? That's just me. That hurt my feelings. And it wasn't even me that he was saying it to. But that just lets you know right there that the father doesn't have any respect for Glaber.
No, he doesn't. And
so because he doesn't feel like he has any respect, of course he's going to take that out on Illithyia, his own wife and lover, because he is in a position of power. But there's tons of people above him. When you can't punish yourself and you can't punish the people above you, take it out on the people under you. And so that's why he's taking it out, I think, on Illithyia as well. And he doesn't want anything to do with her because he doesn't feel respected by society. Yeah,
you're right. And that reminds me of the thing that we always learned in psychology class in school, which is the father gets mad at his boss. He goes home, he slaps his wife, and the wife spanks the child goes ahead and kicks the dog.
Exactly.
So the crap just rolls downhill.
Exactly. So you take it out on everybody else. But I think that those were the quotes that stood out to us the most.
And I had a couple of quick ones.
Oh, you have some great?
No, these aren't great. These are just quick ones. Oh. The ones that I always hear, and I love this one. And I actually want to say this sometimes in life. Well received.
Well received.
Yes. He comes into my house. He's well received.
Or when they get instructions and they understand it, they'll say well received.
Yes, or someone pays them a compliment. Well received.
So we should start saying that.
We should a little bit. When
I tell you look nice, well received.
It is well received, Spicy. Thank you.
Tis welcome. What would I say to that?
And I like this quote too. Please turn down your sets a little bit of cussing. Fucking Syrians.
Okay. I don't know about you guys at home. Yeah, that's always a good one. But I have to stop Sean while we're watching the show and say, okay, I heard it, but I don't know what was just said. Sometimes I don't understand the dialogue going on because of like the ancient,
poetic.
It is poetic. I almost should have studied Roman dialogue in order to understand this, because sometimes I get a little lost. So I'm stopping and I'm like, okay, pause. What did he just say? And you have to break it down to me sometimes.
And this is all Stephen S. DeKnight's doing. And I'm following him on Twitter. So if you guys want to search for him, Stephen S. DeKnight. I'm not quite sure what his exact at thing on Twitter is. What do you call it again? The at thing, at and what
his at sign, yeah.
His at sign,
yeah.
Okay. I don't know his exact at sign, but you can look him up. Stephen, common spelling, Steven, S. DeKnight, D-E, and then night, like a knight that saves the day. So Stephen S. DeKnight, you guys can follow him. He has some juicy stuff that he spurts out every now and then. They tweets.
Cool beans. Well, we want to get into history, but before we get into history, don't we want to go to commercial?
Yes, let's go ahead and do that.
Okay.
AfterBuzz TV.
Hi,
we're doing good
I was once like you, a lazy, angry loner whose only joy was watching TV and surfing the net. And like you, after I'd see one of my favorite TV shows, I'd be so excited and have so many questions that I'd actually have to talk to my douchebag coworkers about it at the water cooler. Then I discovered AfterBuzzTV.com. AfterBuzz TV produces after-show webcasts and podcasts for TV series of all kinds, like post-game wrap-up shows for all your favorite TV shows. AfterBuzz TV hosts are industry insiders who break down episodes of shows, take calls from fans, and interview cast and crew from each series, with over 60 different after shows, from Boardwalk Empire to American Idol to Vampire Diaries to Real Housewives and more. Now, after a night of TV, I can ignore my stupid coworkers, who I hate, and go straight to my desk and watch or listen to all my favorite AfterBuzz TV after shows and have all the TV fan interaction I need. Thank you, AfterBuzz TV.
AfterBuzz TV. What do you want to buzz about?
And we are back. Okay.
Well received.
Yes.
Spicy.
Wait, what did I say that I was going to say? Tis thankful, thank you, or tis welcome.
Okay, very well.
So we have Sean, who is the historical guru over here, and who knows all history Spartacus. So he's going to give us a history lesson really quick for those of you who love Spartacus but don't understand like the necessary background about it in order to understand like the what would it be like the geographical information?
Geographics, the historical battles.
Yeah, like all that is super interesting, but none of us sometimes research it. So dish it out.
So here we go. All right, so a little bit about Thrace. Okay, so we know there's only one character so far that is from Thrace, that is Spartacus.
Correct.
Okay, so Spartacus is a Thracian, and Thrace is an area that's supposed to be ancient Bulgaria, where Bulgaria is now, a little bit of Greece, kind of the eastern side, and a little bit of Turkey, kind of the northern part of Turkey. Okay, so I don't know if you're familiar with that, Spicy. You probably need to see it on a map because I did.
I know, yeah, I definitely do. I almost did not pass geography when I was a child. When I was in middle school, they almost didn't pass me. And then I cheated.
Oh, wow. Oh, my gosh.
Hey, but I got through, okay?
With me, I had
to pull an Ashur move.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Usurping you. I actually was pretty good at geography. Of course, I don't remember where every country is. I know where Greece is. A friend of mine, former roommate, he's from Greece. He's from the island of Cyprus, which is
nice.
Kind of contested between Greece and Turkey right now. And actually, back to Spartacus, regarding where he's from, Thrace. So Thrace is actually pretty far away from where the Gauls are supposed to be, like not too far, but there's some countries in between, which probably makes for why they hate each other so much, and also why the Germans hate the Gauls so much, because they're actually right next door to them. And usually, countries that are right next door to each other,
right,
like Germany and France, World War II and such, they have this animosity towards each other. So there it goes with the Gauls and the Germans.
So that explains the prejudice going on within the show.
Yes, exactly.
And we see, what I like is that they address it. They make reference to it all the time. So we're kind of like learning history while we watch the show as well. Because a lot of the stuff I was like, oh, well, this is fictional. How did they make up this information? But then the more that I research, I'm like, wow, all of this is true. This is all based on true history.
Yeah, it's all based on it. And Stephen Esdenite, in some interviews, he's actually said that you can actually read through almost all of Spartacus's history, like the books that are out there. They go off on their own tangents and such.
Right,
but if
they
you
make
wanna,
up some, for juicy, Starz appeal.
Yeah, because there's not many records of what actually happened. So you could really read the breadth of it in an hour. That's how little there is on the actual stuff, the actual records of the dry statistics and battles that happened with Spartacus's uprising and rebellion.
Oh, wow. So they just fill in the blanks with imagination.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he's a creative, entertaining writer, and now we have this awesome show because of that.
Oh, which we love.
Thank you.
It's back.
Stephen Esdenite, thank you very much.
And
Good
then,
sir.
okay, so you know how I always kind of bash, or not bash, but have been kind of critical about Liam McIntyre because he's, replaced the previous Spartacus role. He's doing better.
Yes.
I feel like they gave him more camera time this episode, and we actually got to hear more dialogue, him speak more, him lead his people more, and I feel like he's kind of stepping up to the plate. They're still not showing us so much of his body and his muscles.
He looked better this time, I must admit.
So you're gradually seeing an improvement in his physicality.
I think he looked better. They disrobed him. And I remember when they were having that scene with all the rebels taking off their loincloths.
Yes,
I was like,
and I love that scene.
And you enjoyed it. I was like, what the heck is going on here? What are these
all
guys
the men
doing?
Are standing around wearing, right, like you said, their claws around their waist. And I'm like, I really was lost as to what all these men could possibly be doing with just being naked all in front of each other. But it was in preparation to pretend as if they were slaves again.
That's right.
But it was a hot scene. Like every single actor this time was naked in one room, every single man.
Yeah,
and
you're right.
Can I just say that I feel like the cast is becoming more ethnically diverse as far as the slaves are concerned?
Yes,
you can say that. I
noticed as well.
I noticed it was more culturally diverse this time.
Yes, I agree with you. There were a lot more African-looking slaves there, and normally it was just Oenomaus who was the only one among
Right,
them.
that was the first one that we ever saw, and now we're starting to see. I think I saw at least probably 7 different the ethnicities this time that I was noticing that I was like, okay, oh wait. But I love the fact that they're doing that though, and I don't know if that was like on purpose or if they just felt, for realism. But I love it because I always love diversity on television.
I think you're right. It's probably for realism, and I'm sure it's for to make the show better. And also, it seems to me like when they do have more diversity, that means there's like, their numbers are growing.
Yes.
That's probably what they're trying to achieve.
Strategic, yeah.
Yes, with the writers and such, they're trying to achieve that on the show. So actually, another little tidbit about history: how large do you think Spartacus's army gets?
Right now it's small.
Okay.
So I'm gonna say that it grows obviously for that question. Okay. I love the movie 300. I'm gonna guess 300.
Okay. That is
I don't know.
Quite
I don't know how I
guess.
related them, but 300. That's a small army, but right now he only has like 15.
Yeah, that's true. Well, it looks like that. We don't know how many are really there because it's always just in a tight shot on the set. We don't really see, and I really want to see it get to this number because this would be pretty impressive.
I know it's gonna be pretty large, whatever you tell me, because I was just guessing 300. It has nothing to do with Spartacus TV show.
Historically, what they say, is it got upwards of over 100,000.
Ooh, wow.
That's huge. But the thing is that a lot of them are non-combatants because they're women and children and slaves that can't fight necessarily really well. They're not as trained as the gladiators.
So that's including children and
Yes.
women and midgets and everything
else. Everything like
yeah.
that. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, the midgets too. We can't forget about
right.
the little
Everybody
people.
can fight. Everybody can fight. But what makes Spartacus so amazing is that the first few people that he brings into his army, he trains himself. Of course, eventually, probably when they got to 100,000, it wasn't Spartacus physically training them anymore. But that's amazing. So that's a real historical fact. See, I said 300, so that way whatever you said would be a shock effect.
Yes, bingo. Thank you for doing that.
I set you up.
The compliment is well received.
Well received. 'Tis welcome.
So would you like to go to the actor bios now?
Yes, can you tell us about Crixus? Since he seems to be the star of this season, give us a little bit of background information on him, because he is amazing.
Okay,
Like
so
physically,
you like him very
as an
much.
actor, I feel like he has mastered his role. I feel like he's a great leader on the show. And
I feel like he's stealing the show a little bit sometimes.
He is, but you know what? That's the writing too, because he is the center of their pursuit right now. And so that's why we see, so much animosity from the other characters on the show, is because everything is revolving around him finding Naevia.
That's right. Okay, so we're going to run through this. Let's see. I wish we could dedicate more time, but we're running out of time a little bit. So let's go ahead and talk about
just some
Manu
simple little
Bennett.
facts.
Manu Bennett. Okay, born 1969. So he's 41 years old. 41, 42. I think he's 42. Yes, he's 42 right now.
Fabulous shape for
This
that age.
year. Oh, yeah. It looks like a 25-year-old. We've talked about that
Right.
before. He has 2 children that I've seen.
Darn
Okay.
it. You're telling
And
me he's taken?
You know what's weird is in some of the pictures, like I haven't seen a ring on his finger, unless the pictures are flipped.
So there's
or
still a
something.
chance.
Maybe,
Okay.
but it seems like I've looked at his fan page on Facebook, and a lot of them, he's without wife in the pictures. I sound like I'm being poetic,
Right,
like
he's
the
without
Romans.
wife.
He's without wife at the moment. No, but he has 2 kids for sure that I've seen. He looks very happy with them. He loves paddle boarding. He's participated in Paddle for Hope, and to support breast cancer research. And let's see, he's really, if you're interested in paddleboarding, any of you guys paddleboarders out there, his choice of equipment is Starboards. Okay.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes. And let's see, he also played a character alongside Lucy Lawless before.
Which I had, when I found that
Oh, you
out,
did?
I
You
was,
did this research too?
yeah, because I looked him up because, of course, I'm obsessed with him. But I thought that was so cool. I was like, oh, this is a second opportunity to work with Lucy.
Yeah, and he played a Roman back then when he was with Xena, Warrior Princess, on the show.
And I would have never guessed that.
Yeah,
I don't remember him from Xena.
I watched it a little bit. I liked Hercules a lot more, of course, because I identified with the strong male character.
I loved Hercules, but I was like obsessed with Xena, Warrior Princess.
Yeah, and of course, Oh man, I have to confess, I did think she was rather sexy.
Yes.
I liked her very much, and I always felt like her and Gabrielle almost had a little lesbian thing.
You think
going
so?
on. Almost. It seemed kind of sisterly, but then at times it would be like.
Well, they turned Gabrielle into a lesbian on the show.
They did.
Yeah.
I did not recall that. I never watched it as well as you did.
I was a huge follower. The following season, they turned her into a lesbian.
No way.
Yes. So she had like a girlfriend. She had a fling and
Oh
everything.
man, I need to brush up on that
Yes.
then. So back in 2000, he was actually credited as John Bennett on the show, not Manu Bennett or Bennett, whatever it is. Yeah, his full name is actually John or Jonathan Manu Bennett.
Oh, okay.
And obviously Manu is more unique, so he's using that now.
So mention also, don't forget, what does he have in common with some other characters on the show in order for his physical fitness that he grew up doing?
Ballet. Bingo. We
Okay,
talked
for
about
those of you
that.
at home that can't see, I just lifted my arms up in like a nice like ballet position, first position. For those of you who know ballet, I trained ballet when I was younger too. So,
experienced.
Yes. So Bennett has ballet experience as well.
Yes, he did. He almost, or I think he did. I think he earned a scholarship to be able to travel for a ballet school. But obviously he didn't pursue
like
that.
Beefy, hunky, and he did ballet. I feel like some of the greatest athletes and entertainers have done ballet at some point.
they've
It's
done
supposed
it,
to be
right.
the best physical fitness and for like balance and everything and agility.
And you lift women above your head for a guy. Oh, come on, man. That's a lot. That's a
Can
big
you
workout.
imagine him in some like tights and like a tutu?
I can. But
guys
actually,
don't
I
wear
have seen that.
tutus.
I saw a picture of him dressed up as the Black
Black Swan?
Did you see that picture?
No.
I saw him dressed up as Black Swan while he was paddleboarding.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Pretty funny. Funny stuff.
That's hilarious. Well,
So-
he has that similar quality with the like experience in physical fitness and everything, but also the ballet training with Katrina Law.
Yes, that's right.
And-
She has that. And we segue now into
Yes,
Katrina
into Katrina
Law.
Law. Katrina Law, as you know, is Mira, the beautiful Mira, who is Spartacus's lover on the show this season. And she's one of the characters that is not from Australia like the rest of the characters.
Where's she from?
She is from Philadelphia. She was born in Philadelphia.
She's an
and she
American
became
girl.
she became a South Jersey girl. So I thought that was pretty interesting because she too has to take on the persona of this, gladiator tribe and learn, the etiquette and the dialogue just like they do. But it's a little bit easier for them because they already have an accent. So can you imagine like if she does have a Jersey accent, we need to hear her actually speak. But what if she has like a Jersey Shore accent and now has to speak like a gladiator? But she does it very well. She took on their accent very well.
Hey guys, you have we got to go to predictions right
Oh, let's go to
now.
predictions.
You guys are giving
Okay.
a lot of good information.
Sorry,
but
sorry,
let's-
That's not Phil over there. That's
Let's-
Ronnie.
All right, moving on.
Ronnie, thank you for letting us know. Okay, predictions. Sorry, we can talk about them forever.
Your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Woo! Okay, so for those of you huge fans, you will find out more about Katrina Law next AfterBuzz episode for Spartacus.
That's right.
But let's do predictions. So I mentioned earlier that I think that Illithyia is going to have an affair with Varinius.
Varinius.
Okay,
Yes.
I can't say his ding ding for nothing. We're gonna fight about that.
Okay, that's a good prediction.
But I think that she's gonna have an affair, and I'm wondering too, because of her promiscuity, if the baby is actually Glaber's. I wonder if we're gonna find out that the baby is not Glaber's.
What if it's Spartacus's baby?
Yeah, I'm wondering.
Yow.
I thought about that as well. So that is kind of a prediction that I want to just kind of throw out there. Tweet at us. Let us know if you guys are thinking the same thing. Tweet us at AfterBuzz TV and let us know what you guys are kind of thinking about that love affair going on.
Wow.
You got anything for us?
I think I still want to see Gannicus come in within the next episode or two.
Gannicus. I think he's going to get his ass beat by Oenomaus.
He will. That's what's going to happen. And additionally, I expect Crixus to be beaten as well because he's captured now, as we know. And this whole thing right now, it feels like a chess game to me.
Yes.
They're capturing pieces.
Like little pawns.
And important pieces too, because we got Oenomaus, who's like the bishop. And then we got Crixus, who's like a queen
Right.
practically. And we're capturing these powerful pieces, and they're going to be tortured
And
now.
I feel so sad for them because they're all returning back to the house of Badiatus. And it is
They're
so sad
coming
they
full
escaped
circle.
and now they're all returning back.
Yes.
So hopefully we don't see Spartacus captured next episode. I will die. But that is the end of our show, folks. Thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV Spartacus.
You guys can tweet tweet at us at AfterBuzz TV or me at the Sean Overman.
Overman, not Underman, y'all. As I like to call him. But also myself at spicy_Mari. And that concludes our show. Tune in every Friday, 8 p.m. for the AfterBuzz TV Spartacus show.
From producers Kevin Undergaro and Phil Svitek, engineer DJ Jesse Janity, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. If you have questions or comments, be sure to buzz us at info@AfterBuzzTV.com. And you can find us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.